horror fans, welcome back to 1237, back with another review. And this is kind of a special video, 'cause not only is this a film that I've been wanting to check out, pick up, and review for quite some time, and it's a film I've known about forever, never been able to find or pick up unless I got it online, which I did with this. But I also happened to notice that this is my 1200th video, so I guess that's kind of cool. Not really a special, but uh, I guess kind of a coincidence that this film that I'm finally getting to happened to land on 1200. Not that the number is significant, but because not only is this a major Italian title, which if you follow my channel, I'm a huge fan of Italian horror, exploitation, giallo, whatever. I think just last year alone, where I spent 6 to 8 months doing Italian films, I must have reviewed over 100 Italian films. But this is part of the Italian cannibal genre, which I'm also a big fan of. I have a playlist of all the cannibal films I've done. But this is a major title that I had not seen yet and have not been able to get a hold of. And not only is it just a part of the cannibal genre, it's considered to be the prototype, the very first one, the one that started everything. And it's 1972's Man from Deep River. Yeah, this is an older DVD, but I really just wanted to get it. The store that I go to can never seem to get it, so I bought this, I think, off eBay last week. Just came in yesterday. So I was very glad to finally check this out and cross it off my list and just add to the Italian collection and cannibal collection. Now, it was directed by Umberto Lenzi, who, uh, even within the cannibal genre, would go on to do Eaten Alive and Cannibal Ferox, one of the most notorious ones, along with Cannibal Holocaust. These two I really enjoyed as well. And last year when I was doing that half-year-long marathon, Umberto Lenzi became one of my favorite Italian filmmakers. I think I'd only seen Nightmare City up to that point, but the guy is one of the most prolific, in my opinion. I mean, when he did a genre, he didn't just dabble. He did several films. I mean, he has like 7 or 8 gialli, number of horror and zombie films, at least 3 cannibal films. He did spaghetti westerns. He did Poliziotteschi films. I think he did some comedies. The guy made films in everything, and he started the cannibal genre. And I know I've done some Italian films since then, like within the last few months, even some cannibal films, but this one really brought me back to last year when I was just constantly doing Italian films, because I was brought back to Umberto Lenzi's direction and his style. It stars Ivan Rassimov, who is a great Italian actor. Actually, he would go on to be in Eaten Alive, along with Mimi Lau, who's in this. She would go on to be on Eaten Alive as well. But he's been in a ton of gialli that I've seen. I've seen the guy quite a bit watching these films. He kind of reminds me of like a blonde Night Stalker, which I know some movies his hair is dark. He even played a Jim Jones type character in Eaten Alive. But it also stars Pratitsak, Singara, if I pronounce that correctly, Og Ard, a bunch of other names that I can't pronounce. The music was done by Danielle Patucci, which has kind of a Ennio Morricone feel with, I can never remember her name, but that female vocalizer that works with Morricone a lot. Kind of sounds like that. And I wanted to get who did the cinematography, but it's certainly in Umberto Lenzi film. You definitely get a sense of his direction in this. Riccardo Palatini did the cinematography, and the original title translates to The Country of Savage Sex, also known as Deep River Savages. And if you buy the DVD from Raro Video, It'll be called Sacrifice. It's all the same film. And yes, this was on the Video Nasties list. It's under list 3, which means it wasn't prosecuted or even tried, but it was still seized. Usually, when people say Video Nasties, they mean the first 2 lists of 72 titles. List 3 has almost that many titles, but so this is under list 3. I might even start a playlist of just list 3. I already have a playlist of 1 and 2 put together. But yeah, so Man from Deep River. I have seen the DVDs as Sacrifice. Apparently, the title was inspired by a man called Horse, and there's a theory that where this film came from. This hasn't been proven. It's just a theory that Lenzi was trying to sort of make a film and capitalize on the notoriety and popularity of the Mondo Cane films, showing just some of the traditions and rituals that Western audiences would find strange, including a lot of indigenous or primal tribes, a lot of their customs, and mix that with a lot of like grindhouse type violence films, and also just the rising violence of Giallo, which 1972, best year for Gialli. So that hasn't been proven, but that's just a theory that some people have. Was he was trying to make, kind of blend. Try to blend sort of the ideas from Mondo Cane and kind of grindhouse theater, which even some of the stuff in this I've seen in at least the first Mondo Cane film. I mean, when one of the tribesmen dies, they cremate him, and then the wife has to lay on the ashes, and then tribesmen come and have sex with her on the pile of ashes as like a sign of her being free and to do whatever. So I think some of the stuff has been pulled from reality. The story's very simple, and actually it's very different from a lot of other cannibal films. I noticed, because there are a lot of cannibal films that are kind of interchangeable. It's just the same story. People go into the jungle, they're taken captive, they get tortured, killed, eaten, until at least one of them escapes. Oh, I should have mentioned, side note, there's one cannibal film left that's on the Video Nasties list that I haven't done, and that's Cannibal Terror from 1981. That one I haven't got to yet. But all the good standout cannibal films all have fairly different stories. I mean, the 3 from Umberto Lenzi are all pretty different. Jungle Holocaust, Cannibal Holocaust, Mountain of the Cannibal God, Cannibal Apocalypse. And then you get a lot of other ones like Devil Hunter or Cannibals, both by Jess Franco, where a lot of the stories are pretty much the same. But this one's fairly different. And I will say, even though this is an Italian cannibal film, it was on the Videos Nasty list. For those that want to get into like Italian cannibal films, but maybe haven't seen a whole lot of disturbing, shocking things, or don't know if you can handle something like Cannibal Holocaust, ones like Mountain of the Cannibal God and Man from Deep River would be perfect places to start, because this one is not as extreme as other ones. I mean, I kind of figured that, where it's the first of its kind. There's really only a couple scenes of cannibalism. It's not even the main tribe of the story. It's this other tribe that they're at war with. It does have some animal cruelty. Again, very... a lot less than Cannibal Holocaust. There's this one weasel looking thing fighting a cobra. There's a cockfight. They slit a goat's throat. they kill an alligator. Um, and the scene with the monkey, I don't know if that's true. Because they close a monkey so just the top of his head sticking out. Then they take a sword. Then they eat the brains. Similar to Faces of Death. That might have been faked. I don't know. But the rest was probably real. Now, where it's animals killing animals, I'm not too turned off by it. But stuff like Cannibal Holocaust, where it's people killing animals for the sake of a movie, that I have an issue with. But other than that, the cannibal scenes are very minimal. The There's not even a whole lot of gore, really. I mean, there's a couple scenes where prisoners get their tongues cut out. We do see one up close. It is kind of a cheap, wonky effect, uh, I will say. So it's definitely a toned down kind of cannibal film. So this would be a perfect place to start. Makes sense since it's the first one. But what really helps it, because if this was a movie like one of the many cannibal, just additions to the genre, I probably would have said it was boring and pointless and not a whole lot to it. This, whereas the first one, that can be forgiven, but this one does have a good story. It does have an interesting story as well. Because Ivan Rassimov plays this photographer from London, where after a bar fight gone wrong, he has to flee. He ends up in Thailand. He wants to, get in a boat and go down this a river that people say is dangerous. But the guy says, his name's John Bradley. John says, "Oh, let's just go for one more day." He wakes up, finds his guy with the boat dead, and he's taken captive by this tribe. And the tribe is at war with this other this tribe that is cannibalistic. That's where we get our cannibal scenes from. Um, and at first they hold him prisoner, and the chief's daughter, played by Abibi Lay, she finds him attractive and makes it so he won't be killed, but he has to be a slave. So they make him work. He tries to escape. Doesn't go well. They put him through like 3 days of torture. And then after he's tortured, he's taken in as a member of the tribe. And it's really just him kind of throughout the film, his arc of prisoner to, someone kind of being on trial, to being accepted, to really embracing his life in the jungle. And Ivan Rassimov did a good job, as he always does. I will say the dubbing is kind of laughable. I mean, when he first gets there, he's strung up in a net, and he sees them take these war criminals from the other tribe, cut their tongues out, and he's screaming, "Murderers! But the mouth is like, as he's screaming, "Murderers." So some of the dubbing is not that great. But it's a good looking film, and this isn't really for the film itself. It is just about the DVD. And for me personally, this isn't remastered, so it does have that old film grit and grain to it that I love so much. So it was a good experience for me. Really, and even the torture scenes. I mean, I think one that was in a lot of the marketing, probably one of the more famous images, is this here, with like this bamboo cage on his head and his arms tied out on this thing that spins. And in the hut, there's all these little windows so they can, blow these darts at him. And it is kind of slow paced, but at least I found it interesting enough to see, how far is this gonna go. Granted, it doesn't go nearly as far as Lenzi's other films or the ones by Diodato, which of course he did Cannibal Holocaust, but even his first one, Jungle Holocaust, is far more extreme than this. I would say this and Mountain of the Cannibal God are two of the more tame ones that are actually still good. There's, from what I remember, Massacre at Dinosaur Valley was pretty tame, but that was not a good movie. This and Mountain of the Cannibal God are actually good, so these would not be bad films to start with. And they deprive him of water, and we do get some inner monologue with him as he goes from desperately trying to survive and escape to really embracing and loving his life here in the jungle, even becoming a warrior. Problems do arise, especially with the witch doctor, who's this gnarly looking dude with crazy fingernails. When he shows his knowledge of modern medicine to save people. And he does come under fire when his new wife becomes pregnant, but there's this illness that makes her blind. He tries to take her out and get her civilization for help. They find him and keep him. It does have kind of a depressing ending because you are, at least I found myself rooting for this guy, and not only is he now happy with his life, but he's married to the chief's daughter, and now she's sick and dying. Another thing is these movies are really known for its level of nudity, because one, they're exploitation films, and two, yes, these are tribes with not a whole lot of clothes. They kind of take advantage of that. This has probably more nudity than other cannibal films I can think of. But there is one scene where they actually do something with it. Well, they do something with it, and then there's a scene that just makes me think, oh, well, exploitation. For the chief's daughter to choose a husband, she gets naked, blindfolds herself, sits down against the wall of a hut, and the line of men reach through this hole, and they touch and they grope her, and she chooses the one she likes. Of course, Ivan Rasimov, when he does it, he holds her hand. She chooses him. So it's okay, they're kind of doing something with the nudity here. But then at the end, when she, spoiler alert, dies, and he's reminiscing about her in slow motion, it's just scenes of her topless. So, but you do get Umberto Lenzi's, style of directing, with crazy zooms, or when we cut to a scene, it's this zoom out. We'll see something over here, then we'll cut to a guy's face, and then it'll just pan out. The one cool scene where it's this wide shot of all the tribesmen trying to find John after he escaped, and then right in the foreground you just see one kind of just step right up in front of the camera. So I've always loved Lenzi's style of the way he directs. That's why a lot of his gialli really stands out to me. And yeah, while this might not be as bloody or gory or, intense or extreme as his other two cannibal films, the story really helps it. And I know that can be a downfall for cannibal films. It's kind of like slashers. You watch slashers for the kills and the blood. If there's no cannibals and blood and torture and gore, you don't really have a movie. But this, along with Mountain of the Cannibal God, did have, even if it's not a deep story, it's at the very least interesting, and you do get to know and like this guy. I enjoyed watching Ivan Rasimov in this role. I'd probably say it's one of my favorite cannibal films now. I really liked this and Mountain of the Cannibal God. I thought I had seen all of, the... What's the word I'm looking for? The most nasty of the video nasty cannibal films, along with Cannibal Holocaust and Jungle Holocaust. And just kind of getting into the duds. I was kind of worried about this one, but it makes sense that this was the first. I also thought it was interesting how I guess you could call this a exploitative, but the way he takes some of the customs and traditions of existing tribes and incorporates that in here, seemingly for shock value, because when Ivan Rassimov witnesses this, he's shocked by it. But yeah, the animal deaths are not near as graphic as other films. It really is sort of animals killing each other, or if they do kill an animal, it's quick. Like, as soon as their baby is born, he holds it for the first time. We just hard cut to a guy slitting a goat's throat, or, when they stab an alligator. But it is quick. It's nothing like Cannibal Holocaust, where it's just gruesome and, completely unnecessary. But yeah, I enjoyed this film. I actually started to forget about the cannibalism to a point, because eventually these cannibal films will show the tribes sort of like ravenous zombies. Like, whenever someone shows up, they just attack them and just start pulling their flesh off and eating it. Seldomly will you get one where they act like people, they just happen to be cannibals. And I was actually so into the story for most of the film before I realized, like, has there even been cannibalism yet? Like, what? But it's the other tribe that's the cannibals. But I think when they kill them, they cannibalize them, which Ivan Rassimov witnesses and condemns. But then later on, he indulges in it as well. So yeah, very solid cannibal film. Just well, as a cannibal movie, you might say it's kind of weak, but just as an Italian exploitation film and the start of the cannibal genre, very solid movie. And just keep in mind, it's not nearly as graphic as some of the other ones. I mean, it came out in 1972, first of its kind. It's probably not going to be. But it's still a very solid film. Well made, well acted, for the most part. I did find it strange how quickly he kind of adapted to the language, and how quickly the chief's daughter adapted to English. Yeah, there is this one elderly woman that's there that can speak English, but doesn't really show her teaching her English. So, like, she goes from just learning to say words like love and his name to eventually having full conversations. So, but yeah, very decent movie. I'm glad I finally got to check it out. I mean, I've known about this for probably over a decade. So, probably the last of the major title cannibal films I had to check out, maybe other than Cannibal Terror. But yeah, the first ever Italian cannibal film, and I'm glad I finally got to check it out. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.